She was publicly humiliated, labeled as unworthy of being here. But no one knew that this janitor was actually the city's mayor, secretly observing the truth firsthand. What happened next changed everything. But let's start from the beginning. Morning at the Greenwood Cafe began as usual. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee, the soft chatter of patrons, and gentle background music. Ruth Evans, a 60-year-old black woman, quietly worked by the entrance, carefully wiping the floors with a damp cloth. Her movements were precise and methodical. The patrons barely noticed her presence. The cafe door suddenly swung open, and in walked Linda Harris, a 45-year-old white woman known for her demanding nature. She scanned the room, placed her order, and headed to her favorite window-side table. Then she saw Ruth, and her expression darkened. "Linda, what is this?" she exclaimed loudly, turning toward the counter. "Why is cleaning happening while people are trying to relax? This is disgusting." Ruth calmly raised her eyes. "Ruth, I apologize for the inconvenience, ma'am. I'll be done shortly." Linda. "Shortly?" she scoffed, her voice rising. "What do you mean, shortly? Don't you have time to do this when there are no customers? This is unacceptable for a place of this standard." The staff behind the counter froze, exchanging uneasy glances, while other patrons began to watch the unfolding scene. Ruth nodded calmly. "Ruth, I understand your concerns. I'll finish as quickly as I can." But Linda wasn't satisfied and continued loudly. "Linda, if you can't handle basic work, maybe you should find something simpler. Honestly, it's surprising they even hired you, probably out of pity." Despite the harsh insult, Ruth remained unbothered, silently continuing her work. Linda, growing more indignant, turned to the manager behind the counter. "Linda, fire her immediately. You're ruining this cafe's reputation by letting people like her work here." The manager hesitated, struggling for words, but Ruth spoke first. "Ruth, I'm sorry if I disrupted your comfort, miss," she said evenly. "Cleaning is essential to maintaining hygiene." Linda. "Comfort?" Linda practically yelled. "You don't even understand the meaning of the word. Your actions are unacceptable." Her outburst made the staff and patrons look away awkwardly. One barista, a young man named Alex, discreetly pulled out his phone, sensing the situation might escalate. The cafe fell into tense silence as Linda sat down, fuming and muttering under her breath. Little did she know, the events of this day would change everything. Linda kept grumbling at her table, loudly discussing Ruth with nearby patrons. Some nodded politely, while others tried to avoid the conversation. Her irritation was evident, and her confidence in her right to complain remained unshaken. Meanwhile, Ruth continued her work quietly, ignoring Linda's remarks. After a few minutes, Linda stood up and marched to the counter, calling for the manager. "Linda, excuse me, I need to speak with you. This situation is unacceptable. You need to do something immediately. People like her shouldn't work here. It's ruining your image." The manager, a young man with a tired expression, tried to placate her. "Manager, I'm sorry for the inconvenience, Ms. Harris. We'll definitely take your feedback into account." But Linda wasn't satisfied. Linda. "Take it into account? She should be fired immediately. This is appalling. I can't believe you allow this to happen." By now, all the patrons were watching the scene unfold. Ruth, standing nearby, quietly wiped down the counter as Linda turned her ire directly toward her. "Linda, look at yourself. You're not even trying to apologize. Your presence here is humiliating for everyone." Ruth calmly raised her head and replied, "Ruth, I've already apologized. If there's anything else you need, please let me know." Her composure only fueled Linda's anger. Linda. "Oh, there is. Leave immediately. You don't belong here." This time, a patron broke the silence. An older woman spoke up indignantly. Customer. "Miss, don't you think you're going too far?" Linda turned to her with a sharp glare. Linda. "I'm protecting our comfort. You wouldn't want this to become the norm, would you?" Just then, the cafe doors opened, and several people in business suits walked in. One of them carried a folder bearing the city administration's logo. They confidently approached Ruth. The room fell silent. Linda watched in confusion as one of the men spoke clearly. Official. Ms. Evans, everything is ready. We can continue our visit. Linda blinked, stunned, as Ruth removed her work gloves with a slight smile. Ruth. Thank you. Give me a couple of minutes. Tension hung thick in the air as patrons began whispering. Linda felt her face grow hot, though she still didn't understand what was happening. Linda. Excuse me, who are you? She asked, her voice tinged with panic. Ruth turned to her, calm and composed. Ruth, my name is Ruth Evans. I'm the mayor of this city. The words, I'm the mayor of this city, silenced the cafe. Linda froze in shock, and whispers spread as patrons began recording. Linda. What? This must be a joke. Ruth. No, Ms. Harris. I wanted to observe our public spaces today, and your behavior has been quite revealing. Ruth's aides began taking notes. Aide. This is part of a new program to evaluate service standards and workplace environments. Linda turned to the manager in disbelief. Linda. Did you know about this? Manager. I had no idea, Ms. Harris. Ruth continued. Ruth. Your reaction today has shown how much we need to improve, not just as customers, but as a society. Flustered, Linda stammered. Linda. I didn't mean anything bad. I just wanted things to be clean. Isn't that reasonable? Ruth. Is it reasonable to humiliate someone because you think they're beneath you? Respect begins with how we treat others. From behind the counter, Alex whispered, This just won the internet. Linda shot him a glare, but quickly realized further anger would only make things worse. She slumped into her seat, the weight of everyone's stares crushing her confidence. Ruth, to manager. Thank you for your professionalism. I'll personally look into better support for your staff. Turning to Linda, Ruth added, Ruth, I suggest you reflect on how your actions affect others. With that, Ruth and her team exited the cafe. Linda remained seated, staring into her coffee, her world unraveling. The next day, the video of the incident went viral. Headlines like Woman Berates Janitor, Unaware She's the Mayor, and Caught on Camera, Bias in Action dominated social media. Linda woke to endless notifications and condemnation. Friends, colleagues, and neighbors distanced themselves. Her employer summoned her. Boss, your actions have damaged our reputation. We can't be associated with this. Hours later, Linda left her office jobless, her life in disarray. Meanwhile, Ruth used the incident to start a citywide conversation. At a press conference, she said, Ruth, this is a reminder of how easily we judge others based on appearances, but moments like these offer a chance for growth. Her words resonated, sparking discussions about discrimination and respect. Linda, under immense pressure, requested a meeting with Ruth. At City Hall, she finally faced the mayor. Linda, I'm here to apologize. My behavior was terrible, and I don't know why I acted that way. Ruth regarded her thoughtfully. Ruth, acknowledging your mistakes is a start, but actions speak louder than words. Ruth invited Linda to join a city initiative promoting respect for all professions. It included volunteering, helping with community cleanups, and attending anti-bias training. Over the months, Linda changed. She worked alongside volunteers, learned to listen, and participated in campaigns supporting workers. Slowly, her reputation improved, not through excuses, but through genuine effort. At a city event, Linda stood beside Ruth and shared her story. Linda, we all make mistakes, but what matters is how we fix them. Her journey became a powerful lesson. True change begins when we take responsibility for our actions.